Well, hi, everybody. Steve Tarter, once again, another edition of Tarter Sauce right here in the Peoria Life Studios in downtown Peoria. And with me on the phone, my old friend Marty Wombacher. Marty, how are you?
Steve, I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, I am doing fine. Let's give you the proper introduction. Marty is the uh, creator and owner, I guess I could say. Meanwhile, back in Peoria, a very popular blog right here in central Illinois, and also a part-time performer. We're going to get to that, Marty, because you've had
Yeah.
to you've had to put your road act on hold a little bit, as the rest of performing America has had to due to the pandemic. But Marty, you spent a lot of. Let me jump to this one. You spent
Mm-hmm.
how many? 17, 18 years in New York? How many years?
19.
19. I knew it was close.
19.
So, and you came back to Peoria 9 years ago? I'm
Actually, it's going to be 8.
eight. See, I'm
I came
close.
back in 2012. And
Okay.
I'll tell you, my timing is perfect because I came back and the next week was when Hurricane Sandy hit the city.
Well, you've been out of the city when they have all their troubles. I see. Well, they're certainly getting
Oh,
hammered with the coronavirus.
I'll
Which
tell you, I've still got friends there and I've talked to them. And here, we've been lucky, and I think
Mhm.
it's because people have done the social distancing and
Right,
worn a mask. So our numbers have been really low, a lot lower than I thought they'd be, which is
right.
great. But all you got to do is talk to somebody that lives in Manhattan,
Oh boy.
and it will scare the wits out of you.
Yeah, yeah. Because they're
I've
saying,
got friends
hey,
of mine that,
yeah,
they're like, it's like one friend of mine, Donna, she said it's like a ghost town. And she said what's weird is the silence. She said
hmm
the city is just silent.
yeah. And who would have thought New York City would ever be silent? I mean, it's just
I know.
maybe after Hurricane Sandy or something, but this is day after day now for 2 months
Well,
or so,
what was interesting for me was I was there on September 11th,
right?
which was a real disturbing time to be in New York. And I always say, if you weren't there, you don't really know what it was like. It was really disturbing.
Right.
And I asked my friend, I'm like, what's it like compared to September 11th? And she said, it's like 100 times worse.
Whoa, gee.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I can understand in a bit because whereas I think we had fear about retaliation and will there be
right.
another bomb or another terrorist attack, that eased away after some weeks. We were put at ease a little bit. Whereas this one, the invisible virus, it's very hard to put it's hard to figure this one out other than just to lay low, and hope for the
Well, the
best.
thing with September 11th, which my friend pointed out, because we went out for a drink that week. She's like, remember we met for, she said, at least then you could go to a bar,
Right.
everything was open. And
hmm
she's like, now you walk the streets in New York, and she said, it's just spooky.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course everything's closed and has been
Yeah.
for weeks and weeks. Um, so that's sort of been I guess a blessing being here in Peoria and other cities like Peoria where knock on wood, we haven't received perhaps the extent of bad news, the amount of bad news that other communities have had,
No,
because
it's been really good
yeah.
here.
And I mean, I remember Norm Kelly was telling us because Norm, he's always about the past.
Yeah,
Uh,
history.
the Spanish flu
Yeah.
took its toll in Peoria. Of course, you didn't have social distancing, or you
Right.
didn't call it that. They told people to
Yeah.
stay home, but you didn't have what we have today, which is the mass media and all the rest of it that
Hmm.
has allowed us at least to stay in touch. Marty, let me ask you. Your blog, of course, has been going strong here. You got an affinity for food. So, what have you been reviewing while the restaurants have been closed?
Well, it's funny because the day people kept saying to me, "How long will you keep doing your blog?" I'm like, "Well, I won't put it on hold, but it'll just change. I'll have to improvise."
Right.
And I said, "The day that there's a case reported here in Peoria, I'm not going to be going out anymore."
Right.
And that was Saturday, the I think 14th. And what I did, I went to Schnucks. I'll never forget this night. It is when you go through stuff like this, there are memories. They're just going to be imprinted in your brain.
Right.
But I remember I had to work that day, and after work I went to Schnucks. I thought I'll just cook something at home. And I went in there and saw all the paper towels and toilet paper gone. Most of the meat was gone. It really kind of freaked me out. I'm like, wow, this is really going to be nuts. And so I just walked around and immediately went to the frozen food section and I got a Butch's pizza. And I'm like, you know what? I'll get a Butch's pizza and cook that. Maybe that'll put people in a good mood. And it did. I put it up the following Monday and people went nuts. Everybody really liked it.
Well, so you went into a frozen pizza theme.
Yeah, I did it for, I think, 4 or 5 weeks, and then Agatushi's opened 2 weeks ago. So I thought, oh, that'll be fun to get an Agatushi's pizza. I hadn't seen Danny or Tony in a long time, so I went and picked that up. And then last week, Lou's is open. And I told you off the air, this is yesterday's post, but the photo that I took, it really strikes me for some reason. It's this girl, Erin, who brought stuff to my car, and she's holding a root beer. The iconic Lou's sign is directly behind her, but she's got a big mask on. And it just, to me, it's like just such a sign of the times.
And that's on your website, Meanwhile Back in Peoria?
Yeah, it's yesterday's post.
Okay. Well, you get a great traffic on that website, and you've done it. You've had chicken. You've done a lot of themes up Main Street.
Oh.
I remember some of them.
You were on.
I was on a couple of them. Yeah, you got to drag us oldsters in there, right?
Yeah, I did a year of pizza. I did 7 months of steak, 12 weeks of tenderloins, a year of chicken. And I was doing Mexican food right up until this happened.
Well, you'll be able to free up again because thankfully, and again, we will see because obviously no one can tell how it's all going to come out here. But things start easing, at least opening up a little bit on Friday, where you're going to outdoor dining anyway, and maybe some indoor dining with a lot of reservations and movement of tables and things of that sort.
No, actually, there's no indoor dining yet.
No, none yet. Okay.
No.
Well, you're waiting for that, so you would know because when they give
I
up,
don't think I'm going to do the outdoor stuff right away. I kind of want to wait and see how it goes.
Right. Well, and then also, I think the crowd will be, unknown at this point because everyone's been told to stay home. Well,
it's going to be tough because I think a lot of people will show up at places, but they can only admit so many. There's guidelines they have to follow.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that. I'm not going to say the name of this establishment, but they said they were going to be open Friday. They have an outdoor place. But I saw several comments saying, oh, man, all right, let's pack the place.
Oh, boy.
Hey, you're not going to pack the place, and if you do, I'm not going anywhere near it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what really we want to see. I mean, it's like the whole point of the mask, I mean, someone can correct me on this because I know there's all kinds of medical opinions about what kind of mask and what does it really do.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I think it does, and I think it's perfectly fine, is solidarity. If we wear the mask, then there's an issue here. It may not be going to save you or all this other stuff, but that's what it's about. And it's not about trying to go back to yesterday right away and have 100 people in a small room. That doesn't make any sense.
No, but some people think that, and it's just going to be an interesting look at our culture and how people behave. And I told you off air, I feel kind of good that I'm kind of documenting a lot of this on my blog because it's a specific era and time. And I'm going to have like that photo of Erin from Lou's. That just, for some reason, that just really hits me.
Well, I mean, and those are the ones that, it always is that one picture that tells the story of our time. I think that, and who knows, because sometimes we live in the minute and we don't think about what's coming up. But I think that a lot of people will have stories to tell, good and bad, about what's happened over the last few months and obviously what will happen over this summer because of the change. I mean, obviously we know the impact on, if you've lost a loved one or a friend, obviously that's huge. The business impact is huge. These small businesses, they're struggling when things were fine. How do you think they're
I
going to do
know.
when the place shuts down for 2 months? It's
I mean, speaking of small businesses, today I did a blog on Lit on Fire used books. She has curbside service now where you can buy
oh
books and she brings them right out to you.
oh good. Oh, that's great. Well, I
So
know that place
I did a
because
thing.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just said I did a post on that, hoping that like it would encourage people to go there and do it and help support her.
Well, and that's a good spot because it's right next to the costume trunk, Steve Spain
Right.
over there, and that whole slew of little businesses there on Main Street, which are probably all the ones that were, perfect example of the ones that, just barely get by. I don't know what their financial statement is, but that's not the issue. It's more or less, they've kind of lifted this whole that corner, if you will, the corner of Maine and Sheridan, has
Yeah.
kind of become a little more vibrant. It's not there yet, but it's become a lot more vibrant.
No.
Not because the city did anything, but because people
No.
did. The
Right.
the folks
So
that owned it.
what I hope, and now that retail is starting to open up, once a week I'm going to do a local feature on like a local shop, and I really am going to stress that now more than ever, try and break away from going to Walmart. They've got enough business.
Right.
Go get whatever you need at a place that's locally owned. It might cost you a couple more dollars, but I think it's worth it for our community.
Right. And I think in that vein, Marty, you could do a real public service by, maybe letting people know what's available in other places, because most of us just don't know. We go, oh, Walmart or
Right.
Schnucks or whatever, and I'm not putting any of those big boys down because they've played their role and they will continue to play their role. But it's because you don't know of this little place around the corner or down the
Right.
street. And
Yeah.
we have this great internet system here. Let's tell people about it, and
No,
maybe
that's
show
what
them.
I plan on doing. I'm gonna start next week. I'm gonna go to Craig Moore, who's been on your
Yep.
podcast.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
to his shop on Friday.
Oh, good. Yeah, I know. He opens up
Give him
along
a
with
little
others.
plug.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know, I thought of him because I saw his thing on Facebook and I just threw something out on my blog. But it's like a record store. You would think, oh, yeah, a used record store now. First of all, that's a throwback right there. And then to have to go in with a mask and gloves. You're going to need gloves in
Yeah.
his place, and no more than 20 in the whole place
Yeah.
because he, as
Right.
you said, you want to spread it out and go all through it. So that's going to be a whole new experience getting used to that. But you'll be able to report on that firsthand. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, and just seeing, like you say, how people adapt to things. And one thing I think it's done, and myself included, I'll throw in a little plug here. I think it's made people, you have to become a little more creative if you're trying to throw stuff out there.
Right.
And you mentioned the performance. It's actually been 2 years ago. In 2018, I started doing this show called the Marty Monologues,
Sure.
and people really seem to like it. And I can't say that I like doing it. It terrifies me, but I like it when it's all over. And people say they enjoyed it or they don't throw tomatoes at me. And I had one scheduled for May 3rd in Milwaukee. I've got some friends there.
What was
And of
what was
course,
going to be
that
your
had to go out the window.
what was your theme? What were you going to do?
I was going to do the 60s show,
60s show.
which I've done here in Peoria.
Okay. And this is
about
little
growing-
vignettes of things seen of
What they are, there's 3 stories. It's about growing up in the 60s.
right. And
And
that's
there's 3 stories that I tell. Each one's about 20 minutes. And that show, I did it in Peoria, Chicago, and New York all in a week.
wow.
And it really went over good. I really got positive feedback. So that's the kind of one. I also did it at Bradley in a January for the
Was
Ollie
that
program.
the Ollie program? Okay, very good. Yeah. And that's well, in the Marty Theater, no less, right?
Yeah, in the Marty Theater.
Right,
That was
it's-
unbelievable.
The Bradley Student Center, Bob Michael,
Yeah.
whatever it is, Student Center, has the Marty Theater downstairs, and I think I saw
You did
a Lost World there. The
Okay.
dinosaur movie years ago.
Yeah.
It was
Well, what I've done is it kind of bummed me out that I couldn't do that, but I thought, well, how can I keep this thing alive and it forced me to learn something new. I got QuickTime, and I learned how to make QuickTime videos on my computer. So now I have a YouTube channel. It's called the Marty Monologues. If you go to YouTube and just type in the search engine Marty Monologues, it'll come right up.
And you do this from your home?
I've been doing that now for what?
You do this from your home?
Yeah, and what's funny is it's in my bedroom, and my bedroom is like a complete mess. It looks like a bomb went off in here. And I've had more than one comment saying, you should clean your bedroom.
Well, you know what you ought to do? One thing I've noticed with the various news shows or, programs of any kind really on TV, when they go to people's home for a report, now I won't say invariably because I don't think I've done enough research to be able to say that. But,
I think I know where you're going with this. Is this about books?
Yeah, it is. Oftentimes they're standing in front of their bookcase, and it's
so funny. I had that conversation with my dad. I was over visiting him, and he had CNN on, and a guy, and I said, I knew you were going to say that because I said to my dad, I'm like, what is it with these people? Do they think it makes them look smarter to have all these books behind them?
Well, here's what I was going to suggest to you is set up a bookcase, but make the books very recognizable and ready, like Playboy, 1970 to 1990, or other such things, just to sort of throw water on the idea that, it's, oh, yes, this is, highbrow stuff here, because anyway.
I've actually got 6 framed Playboy covers from 1969 in my apartment.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I'll do that.
Well, there you go. Well, you might run afoul of, I don't know what pornography licensing is. So.
Do you really? Now you've known me a long time. Do you really think I'm scared of that?
No, I'm sure you're not. I'm looking out for you, Marty. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But you have some great pictures in your place. First of all, you have some things that Swami did probably, and you've got musical stuff, and I know you have a big record collection. When you go to Craig Moore's place, you aren't just checking out the place. You're probably going to pick up a record or two.
Oh, I'll buy something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that goes without saying.
That's going to be my first local stop. That'll be up next Wednesday.
What? Now, obviously, you're not going to know, what the future will bring, and none of us do. So we're going to all wait and see.
Yeah.
But what is your thinking about doing these shows moving out? You think maybe the fall you're going to go venture out again, or what is your thought at this point?
I mean, my thought, it's sad, but I think it's just the way it's going to be. I don't think in the fall it's going to be any different than now because nothing's going to, unless they get a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
So no, the show's going to be on hold. I think for
a while
until 2021.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are looking at putting off things. I won't say indefinitely, but for a while anyway, until we know better.
I don't think I don't think things are gonna come back to any sort of a normal until you get a vaccine, because I don't think this thing's ever gonna go away.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to be wrong about that, but just being realistic, because I've thought about it, it's like, you better just keep being creative for the rest of this year and finding new ways to do things.
Well, that's a good lesson in life anyway, because frankly, I mean, the school kids have had to do that because when the thing went remote, and I know the internet is geared to do that. That we've got people who can teach you a whole bunch online, so it isn't a big loss. But at the same time, it's an adjustment, especially for the younger kids who are used to personal interface. Well. Yeah. Marty, you've got to go to work, and we're almost out of time. We do these, we keep these short so we have people's attention span, boom, right there.
Oh, I know how that goes. Actually, I'll probably be a little bit late, so I'm going to use you as an
Oh, very good, yeah.
Go on to Facebook and look at you, and I can prove.
There you go.
Steve Tarter held me up.
Well, just check out the Peoria Life Network, and you'll find us. Well, Marty, we will...
I'll put up a link, too.
I will... sort of stand by and wait for my invitation to lunch at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be a frozen
forward to
pizza
that.
at your place. I don't know.
There you go. We could do that.
But we'll remind folks once again, meanwhile, back in Peoria and on YouTube, the Marty Monologues, right?
Yeah, just type in Marty Monologues and you'll see a little purple logo come up. And that's the channel. I've got about 6 videos there that you can entertain yourself by watching.
Very good. Peoria's own, folks, Marty Wombacher. Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Great talking with you.
We'll see you next time on Tarter Sauce.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
PeoriaLife.com.